Now, please, could we have a disciplined discussion in which we address points that have been made? Yes, I have you, thank you. We address points that have been made this morning rather than people making speeches that are at a tangent altogether. I mean, I welcome very much what Professor Evers did, which was to take a metaphor, which is all hybridity is. It's a metaphor from plants, from biology, zoology, sorry, not zoology. But as he rightly said, this has to be cashed out very clearly, very specifically, in societal terms, rather than just gone along with as a metaphor. We've suffered enough with terms like liquidity, which refers to water, but it doesn't refer to society. So let's try and keep things clear and connected as far as we can. So I had Andre down first. I'm sorry, I can't read. Okay, second.
Thank you. Yeah.
Maybe the author can say 2 words about the comments. First of all, not further in general.
That would only be fair, yes. Please, would you like to say, you know, some response? I know it wasn't all directly towards your paper, but...
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I can put down my comment in one point. Most of you have, what has been taken up most of my short presentation was this notion of hybridity, if I got it right. And my comment to the comments would be so far, yes, I spoke about hybridity, but about hybridity, you could say, with a twist. What was the twist? The twist is that, and I experienced it outside these kind of workshops in the academic world where I'm in, like third sector research, research on social enterprises, lots of EU things. Their hybridity is mostly seen as a kind of merger of social rationales, concerns with the use value of something, and of economic imperatives as kind of market imperatives. So it should be not for profit, but there should be a plus value, there should be an orientation to the common good, etc., etc. And I have here 2 concerns and 2 comments to make. First of all, even in a lot of social enterprises, so to say, as I know them, and I would say a lot of traditional welfare organizations are social enterprises, have to go along with a market surrounding and have to go along with limited resources that they represent. It contains to a hybridity which is about the social and the economic. Traditionally, the name for this was in Europe the social economy. But what I would underline is that at least in some of these, the political plays a role as well. The political in terms as these organizations, and from Germany I know even the Caritas has to make public campaigns for certain values to be sent. It has about campaigns to organize the members around this value, so it had at least for, I think, a certain kind of creating a kind of community of concern. This is important to the question of Papst, how to uphold and how to secure that there are overarching values and not just a more or less good or meager compromise of the social and the economic. That is one concern, okay? And the second one, very shortly, is that I would argue that we have in these days a lot of organizations, and we always had, which are part of the civil society, and these are organizations which are about speaking out, defending interests, organizing campaigning, advocacy organization, etc. And I would not like to take this special part of the civil society we speak about here, and this is absolutely legitimate, as a whole of civil society. As much as I would underline that civil society is not a plenary room which is just about deliberation, protest, or consents, but it's about a room with hard work, with giving people what they need, with experimental services. I defend this economic and socio-economic dimension of civil society, and I think this is a progress to see it so differently to other concepts. On the other hand, civil society is as well about organizations who speak out, and speak out often in a very uncomfortable way, and we shouldn't forget that. And part, if you think about futurism, how these various organizations can be together, yeah? To put it in a picture, and here I am, how an environmental organizations can have roots on the ground, doing practical services, for instance, which help people to clean the environment, clean up the park, very simple things, but at the same time working on the big issue, how to have an impact of government's action on behalf of the way it deals with the nature and the ecology. So you see, this would be the two twists I have. It's not just about the social and the economic, this hybridity, and secondly, hybrid organization of this kind are not to be taken for the whole of civil society organization, and if we have an emphasis on this type of organization here, there are as well other parts to be kept in mind.
Interrupted you. Could you start again?
I think like to, but yes. Thank you very much, Ada, but we have been in the parliamentary commission in the German parliament already, so I am very familiar with this position. And I think what you strengthen here is the point also of social integration. Yeah, and I think this is also a crucial point of the current situation which we face. I mean, the Italy of Don Camillo and Pepone, in a way, it was, of course, a controversial Italy, but it was also an integrated Italy in a way. Yeah, that even those currently not in the government kind of identified with the whole country. I mean, I have never been living in that time, but I assume. Meanwhile, the Italy of the Cinque Stelle, yeah, is somewhere a little less integrated Italy. Why? Because a growing part of the voters are not only opposing a certain government, but they are opposing the system as a whole. Yeah, and this is what we also face in Germany, what we face, I think, in Britain, what we face in the US. Trump and Brexit are, in the way, fruits of this. I think this should be a very troublesome development, which we should pay attention to, and I'm grateful to Adabek that he put this very clearly on the agenda. And your point is, I think, also a very important one. It's the point of the intermediary institutions, organizations. Yeah. So the things what does me link as an individual to this large show there, which is, if there is no link, then there is Cinque Stelle. Yeah. Only if I see, okay, this is my party and they represent me and interact, then there is a linkage. And so therefore I would, but I'm not so, and there is probably a little difference here. I'm not so optimistic, and you also stress this point just now, not so optimistic about the civil society, social engagement, or so organization, because they are always limited. Yeah, a large part of the citizens don't find any time to engage in these kind of activities. But I would also recommend looking at another form of intermediary organization, and this is self-administrative groups. In my presentation tomorrow, I will focus on the Chamber of Commerce.
Please give over space for the other questions.
Yes, yes.
Not conference, question.
I'm at the end. I mean, the question is whether you could also see that role of self-administrative group, social subsidiarity, being kind of an instrument of social integration. Subsidiarity on a local level, in communities, but also professional subsidiarities or professional groups self-organizing themselves. Would you agree? Would you see that as adaptable to your perspective?
Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody has a name. No, okay. Then Juan, the floor is yours.
Hola, voy a hablar en español. Alemán no sé. Voy a ser muy breve, pero entiendo que la discusión general es sobre todo el día, por cómo está hecho el programa, no solo sobre esta presentación. Entonces, primero una reflexión sobre esta fórmula de los sacerdotes, los religiosos, los fieles, los obispos y los hombres de buena voluntad. Siempre me llamó la atención esa fórmula. Parece asumir que va de un grupo más restringido a un grupo más amplio, ¿no? Yo conozco muchos fieles, sacerdotes y obispos que no son de buena voluntad. Y además, los que gobiernan el mundo y la economía del mundo, no veo por qué sean gente de buena voluntad. En general deben ser gente de mala voluntad, y que no leen las encíclicas. ¿Y por qué digo esto? Porque yo no sé si vivo en otro planeta, pero en las conferencias en las que yo participé, y en muchos lados dicen, bueno, la riqueza está concentrada en 10, 15, 20, 30 mega multimillonarios. O sea, ni siquiera capitalistas, ya es una plutocracia. Asumimos que si fuera gente de buena voluntad, repartiría su riqueza, pero no la reparte. Y en los sectores donde yo trabajo, ni las políticas programáticas experimentales, ni las reformas sociales son gratis, salen plata. Y esa plata está concentrada. Entonces, nunca conseguimos nada nosotros, y bastantes cosas conseguimos, pidiendo por favor. Siempre hubo que ejercer una muy fuerte presión en términos de amenaza real a los intereses materiales de los que tienen que financiar las reformas y las políticas. Porque para resolver los problemas de exclusión, los problemas ambientales, los problemas de migraciones y de esclavitud moderna, de tráfico, se necesita mucha plata. Y para conseguir esa plata no es un problema de buena voluntad y de hibridación, digamos, ¿no? Es un problema de poder. Entonces mi pregunta es, ¿en qué contexto, de qué manera entra la disputa económica dentro del sistema? No estamos hablando de una transformación sistémica, pero dentro del sistema, en una sociedad tan desigual, en el modelo que usted está planteando, que me pareció muy bueno y muy interesante, pero noto que falta ahí una parte de la película, ¿no?
Can I just quote one thing to you, Juan? It was a comment lodged by somebody, a rich banker, who was fundamental in founding this academy. There is no direct inverse relationship between how rich you are and how much goodwill you have. How rich you are and how much goodwill you have. There's a correlation, but we know those don't explain anything. And this particular philanthropist, Herr Backliner, to whom we would not be sitting here if it were not for him. And so all I'm trying to say is that goodwill has a very irregular distribution, though I certainly agree with you that it's not found in profundity in most capitalist enterprises. But anyway, can we let Stefano benefit from the fact that we have 10 minutes left, because you started this?
Thank you, Adalberto. I have two specific questions to you. The first one has to do with the word participation that you use several times. Now, you are aware that the UN agenda for the 2030 17 goals for the first time use a word partnership, and that partnership is declined in a particular way, different from the past. So the question is, don't you believe that it's proper to qualify participation? For instance, deliberative participation, because you can have consultative participation, but that it belongs to the past. The novelty is deliberative participation, and then we have to deliberative participation. We have to devise methods, practical methods, to implement that. The other question has to do with the fact that was perhaps mentioned by Juan or others. While I understand very well in your presentation the relationship between civil society and state, it seems to me that you leave aside the market. After all, or better to say, the economy. In other words, unless you consider the economy to be an integral part, the triadic model I was talking about in my presentation before will never be implemented. You would have a reconfiguration of the relationship between state and civil society, and then market on its own, which will proceed along its line. So unless we enter into the market logic, it seems to me that there will be no chances to cope with plutocracy and many other. What is your opinion on that? Thank you.
Yo quiero volver a lo que presenta Grabois, porque le hice la pregunta ya esta mañana a Samani y olímpicamente no me contestó. Y es esto: cuando hay una corrupción del sistema democrático, como dice Aristóteles, Aristóteles propone soluciones y Santo Tomás sigue la solución de Aristóteles. Cuando se trata de un tirano hay que hacer la revolución. Más presión que eso, no lo sé. Cuando se trata que un mundo global, en parte, o al menos algunos de los países promotores del mundo global, tienen una crisis en el sentido que la democracia se está convirtiendo visiblemente en una plutocracia, ¿qué hay que hacer? ¿Es suficiente la hibridación? Puede ser que la hibridación sea suficiente para Alemania y para Italia y para otros países muy desarrollados, pero para el problema del continente africano, para el problema de parte del continente latinoamericano, yo no sé si es suficiente.
Okay, thank you. No, I thought that your question before was addressed to Camacho, not to me. I misunderstood. In any case, I have no difficulty in answering your question. You are right. When a model of social order is in crisis, deep crisis, as the one you described, as we know, there are three ways of exit. One is the revolution. The second one is reformism, and the third one is the transformative strategy. I am in favor of the transformative strategy, because the revolution guarantees nothing, that after you have destroyed the old model, you have a new model. On the other hand, the reformism, I agree, is not enough. It's not enough powerful. So the problem is to transform. Transform means to change blocks of the, let's say, power, both political, but whole economic power and financial power, which is possible today. Because it would be enough. Sometimes we tend to believe that the financial financialization of the economy is a Moloch. Well, it is a big Moloch, but it has an Achilles heel. It would be enough to intervene on 2 or 3 specific points in order to change. For instance, it would be enough that the countries, the government takes a decision to close down all the paradise, fiscal paradises, to change the situation. A second, it would be enough that the politicians agree on new rules of fair competition to modify and to decrease the power of the big supranational country. The point is, again, that it's the politics itself which is today too shy, because they believe that they would be ineffective. And that is not true, as the recent events in the European Commission, in the case of Google and Ireland, so it was enough that the commissioner to the competitive policies, the lady Vestager, took a decision to compel Google to pay a big amount of evaded taxes. Now they want to claim to the court, but I'm sure that they will not win the cause. And that is Google. In other words, it seems to me that we have to insist more on the because the politicians today are too shy, because they do not believe in their possibility. Because the economic sphere is certainly very powerful, but it's very powerful because the other ones, both civil society and politics, in my opinion, have resigned to their role, because they are humiliated or too much.
Our last speaker, but we will give you...
I also agree that the transformative way is the best one. I think the main discussion of today is this. On the one side, we see the forest was burning, you know? On the other side, we see new trees, new sprouts, like civil society, grassroots. So the idea is how to make reforestation effective, okay? So I think we have four possibilities in the logic of the transformative society. The first one, we have a great power in this society, which is consumption and savings. That's the power we have to change the world. If the 99% people use this power, with the voting with their wallet, we can change things. And Christian social doctrine has this principle inside. So we have to use three tools to create this: green social consumption taxes, reschedule all the consumption taxes in order to create incentive for good vote with the wallet. Second, procurement rules. They have to change. The government must be the first to not to just look for the lowest price, because the lowest price is by definition unsustainable. And third, we must create new information instruments, as we are doing in Italy, to help people to do that. And I think the church has a great possibility to become the leader of this change, because if the church take this route in a decisive way, it can make this viral. It can help people to understand of this power, because the problem of voting with the wallet is awareness, information, coordination, and this can be really good, the church, to aggregate this. Second strategy, we need universals, because the issue is we need universal safety net targeted at social reintegration. In a world so difficult as it is now, this is very important. Also because subsidiarity and corporate welfare are not universal. Third, we need to be humble. We must start from the bottom and to see what are the new things that are going on, because from those new things we can learn for our policies, what we did with the Italian social weeks with the 400. And the last point, this is really a point where I don't have clear-cut ideas, as I have in many other things, which is we really need to reason about what is a responsible macroeconomics. Because macroeconomics is so important. Fiscal policy, monetary policy, tax policy, and we really don't have an idea about that. And we know that macroeconomics can change, it's like the tide. It can change the life of many people at the same time. So I think that we should reason more about, what is the reasonable level of debt, what is the reasonable kind of fiscal policy, monetary policy, because as it was said by you, that money is important to achieve all these goals, and macroeconomic policies are very important in that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give the last word to Father Scanoni as one of our co-organizers of this meeting, and you have a maximum of 5 minutes.
¿Se oye bien? Con respecto a esa discusión que planteó Juan Grabois y que luego se continuó, a mí me parece que la gente de buena voluntad siempre va a ser una minoría, pero también la gente de expresa mala voluntad, cínica, que son a lo mejor los grandes poderosos de la tierra, también son minoría. Hay una gran mayoría que busca sus propios intereses, y si logramos que lo busquen en forma inteligente y se alíen con la gente de buena voluntad, ahí es donde hay una posibilidad de un cambio real. Eso es algo voy a decir en mi ponencia, porque la gran mayoría busca sus intereses, pero no en forma cínica. Y entonces, si uno les hace caer en la cuenta, como está haciendo el Papa, por ejemplo, con Laudato Si, que es peor para todos el problema del cambio climático, que es peor para todos que la gran mayoría de la humanidad se muera de hambre en el tercer mundo, etcétera, etcétera, y buscan sus intereses, pero en forma inteligente, es decir, no inmediato plazo, sino a mediano o largo plazo, en forma inteligente, y se busca la alianza de estos con los de buena voluntad, ahí hay una posibilidad real. No digo que sea seguro, pero es una posibilidad real, como pasó en los Estados-nación a fines del siglo XIX y comienzo del siglo XX, etc., donde la gente que era inteligente se dio cuenta que era mejor lograr un pacto social, por ejemplo, los empresarios con los obreros y el Estado, antes que, o por las huelgas continuas, o porque venga el comunismo, se perdiera todo.
Padre Scanone, forse è il momento di ringraziare tutte le diverse istituzioni che hanno collaborato.
Ah, bueno, ya que estamos, me olvidé el decirlo en la introducción. Bueno, a nivel, digamos, económico, por lo menos para el apoyo del grupo de Laudato, ¿no? Además, bueno, están propio de la academia. Doy gracias especialmente, digamos, a la Fundación Konrad Adenauer, que con el programa Sopla pagaron todos los viajes desde América Latina, por lo menos del grupo de la Laudato, ¿no? Así que estamos muy agradecidos. Y luego, aunque no quieren ser mencionados, pero saber también que nos ha ayudado mucho la Fundación Pórticos. Así que muchas gracias.